The left has spent the last 8 years saying that the right is pro-Russia and that the right is paid by Putin. But Putin has now came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Now the media is going crazy trying to spin that in a way that makes her look good. Sadly, it is what it is, and Kamala is now officially the Putin Scrooge. No other way to word it. That's exactly how it is. Without further ado, let's dig in.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So digging right in, we actually have this most important thing ever that just came out about Putin endorsing Kamala Harris. Yes. And this may be a 5D chess move, and Putin knows exactly what he's doing. I don't know that. We don't know that. Nobody knows that. But as for right now, Kamala Harris has now been endorsed by Vladimir Putin, which is the most crazy thing to ever happen because of the fact that she has spent the last 8 years saying that Trump is paid for by Putin, that Putin is up Trump's rear and vice versa, both of them. And it's just crazy because this just came out over the weekend. So, a few days ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that this week that he backs Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris for president, matching previous sentiment that he has expressed about the Democratic Party. Putin made his remarks on Thursday while attending the plenary session of the Eastern Economic Forum in Russia. We had Biden as a favorite, but he dropped out of the race. He recommended that his supporters should back Harris, so we will too, Putin said. She laughs so expressively and infectiously that it means that everything is going to be fine with her. Which I don't know, again, if he's playing a 5D chess move and he wants her to be endorsed by him because he knows that the American people don't look at him as the best light, but I don't know that. Nobody knows that. And of course, if this was the shoe was on the other foot, then of course the media would nonstop go crazy about this situation. They would say this from now until the election time. So that's what I'm going to say. Whenever people in the mainstream media come out and say, oh, this person is loved by Putin and this person is paid by Russia and blah, 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 I'm going to just say this. Listen, who's endorsed by Vladimir Putin? Who's endorsed by Russia? Russia collusion, Russian this, Russia that, Russia this. So the left is scared of Russia. Now the Putin, Russia's president, has now endorsed the Democratic Party nominee for the next president of the United States. So there you go. Who is the Putin Surge? Who is the Putin Scrooge now? It's Putin. Putin and Kamala Harris are together. And that's exactly it. Listen, I don't particularly like Russia. I don't particularly hate Russia. I think that what they're doing in Ukraine is disgusting. And of course, they want to go on and have some more land for themselves. But, that is what it is. And their fact, because I can't change anything about that. I just do not support them going into another democratically elected government and trying to take land from them. I think that you should just do it the right way through paying for it, like what we had in America where we had the trade deal and we ended up buying some states back into getting into the union, which I think that is the proper way to do things. But the thing is, throughout history, we've always had wars over disputed land. We have always had this and that and this and that. So if you can defend your land, you can have your land. If you can't defend your land, then you can't have your land anymore. That is what it is. That's how it always has been. So that is, as for right now, where I'm going to leave it. But right now, we know that Kamala Harris is endorsed by Putin. So I do not want to hear anything on the left anymore about Russia, and Putin this and Putin this. I do think that they have kind of a point at the upper echelons of a small media company called Tenant Media, which has now just been paid by Russian propagandists $10 million, but I do not believe that the hosts itself had anything to do with this. I think that the conservative media company itself, Tenant Media, should be investigated, but the hosts of that belonged to that company had nothing to do with this action. And you can go and look at the FBI reports and stuff like that. The hosts that were part of Tenant Media had nothing to do with that situation. So I think that Tenant Media was paid by a Russia propagandist, but then there's other companies that are infiltrated by Russia propagandists and China propagandists and stuff like that. So, are we going to look into every single one of these companies? Yes, we should. We really, really should. Instead of just going and only paying attention to this small media company, we can pay attention to Disney and Apple and all of these other companies that may have all of these other propagandists working for them. Especially a big, like a giant conglomerate like TikTok or Netflix or Hulu, all of these major streaming platforms that we use almost on an everyday basis that has so much user data built up against us. I don't think that we should be giving that to foreign nations. So we need to make sure that this information, just like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that, needs to stay in America. And we cannot give that to our enemies, because our enemies would know a lot about us and they can deceive us and trick us into thinking a certain way. So with that being said, let's go a good rollout into the next article that we're going to be talking about, and that is Web3. So what is Web3 and why should you care? So, unless you're a Dizilian, and this is a article from the Daily Wire, Dizilian of the internet within the last, with at least a little bit of interest into cryptocurrency, you likely haven't heard of the Web3 yet. If you're not a cryptocurrency person, this is mostly about, this is what Web3 goes around, cryptocurrencies. So, Bitcoin has been around forever. But Web3 is not just about Bitcoin. It's also the idea of the future of the internet, where the entire web is built on blockchains, decentralizing it and putting the control back into the hands of the people rather than big tech companies. The term Web3 or Web 3.0 began floating around in 2013 and refers to the next phase of the WWW or World Wide Web after Web 2, the age of the interactive websites that started around 2004, and the original web, which consisted of lots of read-only websites. So what would a blockchain internet look like? What is a blockchain anyway? So a blockchain is a chain of ledger or digital data that is decentralized, meaning that it could be spread across many different computers, often even across different countries. The big attraction of the blockchain is that it does not need a centralized administrator like a server or a specific location. Google servers are located in Oregon, Arizona, Texas, and several other places. When Google decides to do something, users can't stop the company because it controls the servers. Big tech's outsized control over internet traffic has long been a bipartisan concern. Republicans and Democrats in Congress have teamed up on bills to rein in giants like Google, Apple, and Facebook. Online censorship, misinformation, and election interference concerns married the last few presidential elections. Data breaches have been exposed people's personal and financial information. Meanwhile, big tech companies gobble up revenue and buy out their competitors, making it very impossible to challenge them in the free market, which is the monopolistic policies that these companies impose and make sure that you can't create your own Google. That's why search engines like DuckDuckGo are something that I like to use, because of the fact that you have no idea what Google is doing behind the scenes to make sure that you don't see certain results. Moving on to the next article here, we have several Islamic terrorists have been arrested for alleging a plot to assassinate the Pope, which these people are just so stupid. Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and this was Christians trying to terrorize an Islamic state representative or something like that. They would nonstop talk about this, but of course, because it's Christian, they're going to talk about this just a little bit. It's crazy. Several suspected ISIS terrorists have been arrested in Indonesia last week for alleging to plot against to assassinate Pope Francis during his recent visit in the country. Indonesia's anti-terrorism police department 88 said in a statement that seven suspects have been arrested early the week in various cities throughout the country. The Straits Times reported. The full names of the suspects were not released, but the police said that their initials were HVP, LB, DF, FA, HS, ER, and RS. Investigators made the arrest after receiving tips about from the public and did not know if the suspects knew each other or if they were a part of the same terrorist cell. A source told the publication that the search of the suspects' homes turned up bows and arrows, a drone, and ISIS leaflets. Yeah, so this was obviously part of ISIS, but these terroristic groups just keep planning different things and they keep getting foiled every single time. God bless all of these police officers and these investigative departments for actually preventing these things from happening, because it's happening all over, not just in Indonesia, but also in New York. And that goes into the story that we have now. Pakistani national arrested in Canada for alleging plotting terror attack in New York City. So, an Islamic man from Pakistan was arrested in Canada this week for allegedly planning a terrorist attack against Jews in New York City, which is just absolutely disgusting. The Department of Justice said late on Friday that Mohammed Shajib Khan, 20, was charged with attempting to provide material support and resources to ISIS, to designated foreign terrorist organization, the FTO. Khan attempted to travel from Canada to New York City, where he intended to use an automatic and semi-automatic weapons to carry out a mass shooting in support of the ISIS at a Jewish center in Brooklyn, New York, I should say. Prosecutors said, which is just highly disgusting because if we do not know already, in America, federally, automatic weapons are fully banned. So that just right there is a huge federal crime. And using a semi-automatic weapon in New York City, that's not going to, the gun laws that they have in New York City is not going to prevent this from happening, because of the fact that obviously they know for a fact that they can just get these guns elsewhere and just bring them into the state. Now all of the background checks and stuff like that, the licenses that you needed to actually have and obtain a firearm, doesn't even matter now, because you just brought the gun in from another place. So, of course, these laws, just adding another law in the book is not going to prevent this, but actually doing exactly this, investigative, making sure that you know exactly what's happening before it even happens and preventing it from happening, is going to do the most to actually make sure that stuff like this does not happen. Thank God nothing happened. He wanted to carry out attacks on either October 7th, the anniversary of Hamas's unprecedented attack on Israel last year, in which 1,200 people were murdered, or on October 11, which is a Jewish holiday. He was originally targeting a city only referred to as City 1 in the indictment, but changed the target to New York City. Khan said that the Muslims were going to New York City to slaughter them, which he planned to do by shooting them with rifles or using knives to slit their throats, which is just highly disgusting and evil stuff. Khan reportedly retaliated his desire to carry out the attack in support of ISIS and discussed planning the attack, including by identifying rental properties close to location 1 and paying for a human smuggler to help him reach across the border from Canada into the United States, the DOJ said. During one communication, Khan noted that if we succeed with our plan, we would be the largest terrorist attack on United States soil since 9/11, which is, thank God this did not happen, because we do not need any more stuff like this. This is exactly why we cannot have open borders in America, because things like this happen. That's exactly why we need to be making sure that we're double, triple, quadruple checking people before they come into this country, making sure that they have an alibi, making sure that they're safe people and do not have any motives to actually commit anything. The DOJ only charged him with a single count of attempting to provide material support and resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization, which carries a maximum of 20 years in prison. The defendant was allegedly determined to kill Jewish people here in America. Nearly 1 year after Hamas's horrific attack on Israel, the investigation was led by the FBI, and I am proud that the terrific work by the FBI team and our partners to disrupt Khan's plan. So I think that this is the first time in recent months that the FBI actually did something good. And I think that they were just trying to make sure that that the people thought that they could actually still do their job after they actually allowed mass shootings to occur under their watch. The FBI knew about the mass shooter in Georgia before, last year. And then now all of a sudden they're like, wait, we can actually do our job here. Okay, so why didn't you do your job before? That's exactly why we were saying that it needs to be overhauled, because sometimes they choose to do their job and sometimes they don't choose to do their job. It's just really annoying here. I just don't get why the FBI wants to do their job sometimes and not do their job other times. Just do your job all the time. So, moving on to the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. Here we have court orders RFK Jr. to be removed from the ballots in New York, North Carolina, and Michigan, which is completely in the right because he dropped out of the race. So why would he stay in the race if he's out of the race? It just doesn't make any sense. Both the North Carolina and Michigan courts of appeals on Friday reversed prior denials of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s request that his name to be removed from the general election ballots in the two highly contested swing states. The moves in both states are legal wins for the former independent candidate who recently dropped out to endorse President Donald Trump. The endorsement marked a significant shift for Kennedy, who has been a long-time legacy as a Democrat and a member of one of America's most popular, most powerful political dynasties. Since endorsing Trump, Kennedy has been trying to thread the needle, seeking to remove his name from the ballots in some states in order to benefit Trump while remaining on ballots in others. But so far, Democrats have had success keeping him on the ballots, where he has been requesting to be removed on, while removing him from the ballots on which he wishes to remain. All of this follows other hard legal fights Kennedy had with Democrats in his effort to obtain ballot access in the first place. Yeah, of course. So all of the states that he fought to actually be on the ballot, they let him on the ballot, and then he's like, well, I want to drop out now. And they're like, no, you can't drop out. What are you talking about? Like, why is it harder to get off the ballot than it is to get on the ballot, even though he fought tooth and nail to actually get on the ballot? And then, of course, when it comes down to him trying to get off the ballot, they won't allow him to. They're gonna fight tooth and nail to get him to stay on the ballot. But then there's people that want to be on the ballot, and then they say no because it's going to take votes away from Kamala, and RFK may take votes away from Trump. That's exactly why they're fighting tooth and nail to make him not get off the ballot, while making sure that people that want to actually stay in the race are trying to take them off the ballot, which of course, because it's their side, they want to win, I guess. But why do they get to control this thing? It just doesn't make any sense. Moving into the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. We have new report details hefty price for Americans that are paying for Biden-Harris open border mayhem. So, the United States Rep. Chip Roy's office has detailed the breadth in depth of the destruction in the report titled America's Invaded. The border czar has some explaining to do, but don't count on a compliant corporate media to ask Democratic Party presidential hopeful Kamala Harris to answer questions about the mayhem and that the Biden-Harris administration has caused with their deadly open border policies. Rep. Chip Roy, a Republican from Texas, intends to press this point. However, his office has detailed the depth and the bandwidth of the destruction of the 36-page white paper titled America Invaded, how the Biden-Harris border crisis has fundamentally transformed the United States. The Texas Republican and his constituents in the Lone Star State 21st Conventional District have lived with the damage of nearly 4 years and have so many other places in the nation dealing with the tsunami of illegal immigrants that has brought the border to their backyards. This document lays out the bandwidth and the depth of the continuing damage to our country, which has morphed from a strong nation built on the rule of law that welcomes immigrants in accordance with that law to a lawless, dangerous, and unrecognizable collection of individuals without common bond. Roy said in a press release announcing the report's release. The numbers are breathtaking. According to the report, since President Joe Biden and his number 2 took office, more than 8.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed the United States southwest border, approximately the population of the state of Virginia, which is just highly, highly disgusting. The Biden-Harris catch and release program has sent at least 1.6 million illegal aliens into the interior of the country, while some 1.9 million gotaways have slipped the attention of the distracted and exhausted United States Border Patrol agents. All told, more than 7 million illegal aliens have poured into the United States on the Biden-Harris administration's watch. A terrible scourge. Deadly fentanyl, horrific crimes, and a mountain of dead bodies have occupied wave after wave of illegal immigrants. According to recent reports, fentanyl drug overdoses, poisonings, claimed the lives of 75,000 Americans in 2023, an average of over 200 deaths a day. The epidemic is brought to you by the Mexican drug cartels and the killer chemicals made in China smuggled across the border. Almost all of us knew someone, a family member, a friend, or a neighbor, who has been affected by a terrible scourge of epidemic overdose, especially from fentanyl, said Utah Attorney General Sean Rise following last year's first regional family summit on fentanyl. These deaths have torn apart families, schools, and communities, and we grieve the loss of so much life. Talent and goodness. Utah alone counted 541 deaths from drug overdoses in 2022, with opioids like fentanyl accounting for 3/4 of the fatalities, according to the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. There are thousands more victims of myriad crimes, including some of the more horrendous homicides and assaults on record. Roy's report points out that consider the families of Laken Riley, Kalia Hamilton, 12-year-olds Jocelyn Nungure, who was reportedly lured in under a bridge, assaulted for 2 hours, and strangled to death by 2 illegal aliens. The little girl's body was found bound and strapped in Houston Bayou. While Border Patrol was intercepted increasing numbers of criminals, DHS, Department of Homeland Security whistleblowers, revealed on August 11, 2024, that as many as 950,000 violent criminals have been unidentified. The Roy report says, in some cases, the CBP did not collect DNA data for more than 70% of illegal border crossers, which is just terrible because now they don't know who is actually coming through the border, because if they do commit a mass casualty, or if they do commit a felony or something like that, they have no idea who these people actually are. On September 10, 2001, the nation was ill-prepared for the hell that was about to hit it. The border crisis, security officials warn, has potentially planted the seeds of another 9/11, exactly what we're finding out now, with an attack that was planned in New York City. As the Roy report notes, or not New York City, but in New York State. As the Roy report notes, terrorists are streaming across the border in record numbers. In fiscal year 2023, 169 known or suspected terrorists were arrested at the southern border. How many got-away terrorists slipped through is anyone's guess. At least 99 illegal aliens on the terror watch list were released into the United States after being apprehended at the southern border between fiscal years 2021 and 2023, the report notes. Alarmingly, individuals with groups with known or suspected ties to terrorism have capitalized on our precious border by smuggling foreign nationals, some of whom originate in terror-prone countries, into the United States, the report continues. Meanwhile, drug cartels have been emboldened. According to Roy's report, the criminal operations are hauling in more than $13 billion a year off human trafficking alone. The buses and the abuses are horrifying. A United States Department of Homeland Security Inspector General's management alert issued last month showed the Biden-Harris administration has lost track up to several 100,000 illegal immigrant children, many at risk of being victims of trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. Mexican cartels have joined forces with Chinese crime syndicates to provide fentanyl and traffic it into the United States, the white paper states. Absolutely bizarre. None of this should be surprising after Biden rolled out the welcome mat for illegal immigrants even before he took office. In one of the first orders of business, Biden pledged a 100-day moratorium on deportations and moved to protect the sanctuary cities that have been invaded by illegal immigrants from ICE and other law enforcement authorities, of course, because Biden and Harris love the illegal immigrants because they think that they're going to be voting for them in 2024, 2028, and 32 or so. So they're going to just keep voting, they think at least, for the Democrats. But that's exactly why they want to get rid of the voter ID, because of the fact that if they get rid of voter ID, then all of these illegal immigrants that are coming through the borders can just vote for them. which is just absolutely disgusting because that's not legal. Of course it's not. So, but that's exactly how the Democrats plan it now, is because of the fact that they'll have these illegals voting in our election, and then because they can't actually show that they're not a citizen. That's exactly what they're doing in Massachusetts. That's exactly what they're doing in other Democrat states, because they're saying, no, you don't need an ID to vote in our election. And then they're saying that, well, it is a federal law. If you're an illegal, you can't vote. But then what's to stop you from actually doing it? And then they'll send you mail-in ballots to each household. Even if you're not enrolled to vote, you just vote. All the information's already filled out for you. I actually got one. And I'm like, I don't need this. So I had to rip it up and shred it. Like, what are you even doing? Why are you sending me a mail-in ballot if I never even requested one? So, of course, they want everybody to just vote. And then they'll automatically enroll you to vote too. Like, my mom didn't even enroll to vote, and then she's enrolled to vote. Like, what is this? She didn't even enroll. So I don't know. There's so many things that the Democrats are doing to try to get these numbers up, and then they just send everyone like, oh, just so you know, you can vote at this location. Just so you know, just so you know. It's just crazy. I just don't understand this. I mean, I do understand this is exactly what they want to happen. Come November, they want to get all the votes for themselves, and they want the Republicans to lose. So with that being said, we're going to keep updating you throughout the week. We do have, of course, the debate between Trump and Harris happening on Wednesday. And I wanted to stream this live. I'm going to see exactly how this is going to happen live. If not, then I'm going to be posting it in its entirely as soon as the debate's over, and as soon as I can possibly upload this. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.